Let's start with a very interesting battle in the AFC East. Buffalo against the New York Jets. This game finished 20 to 12 in Buffalo in favor of Buffalo. A lot of very bad weather in this game.
Oh yeah, it wasn't a pretty game, to be honest. Like I'm pretty sure. I don't know if the half ended 0-0, but up until like the big half of the second.
It almost became
0-0.
The first scoreless first half in the NFL since October of 2019.
Yeah, so it was really close to being 0-0 at the half.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about two good teams this year. Like the Jets are actually a good team. They don't really have a quarterback, so that's an issue. But the Jets' defense itself is really good. It kind of showed against the Bills. Obviously, the weather could be an excuse, but also like keeping the Bills to 20 points is a solid job from the Jets. Obviously, it's having Mike White there. It's tough for the Jets. You had to bench Zach Wilson. Like I do agree with the decision to bench Zach Wilson because he has looked like the worst quarterback in this year. Like I think easily. I don't think there has been a worse quarterback than him this year. I can't think of one.
You think he's the worst quarterback this year?
Well, I don't. I'm trying to think of anyone.
No, I just wanted to.
Oh yeah,
to be honest,
to
be honest, yes.
Like I'm trying
Can
to
you think of somebody else, somebody
no.
worse than
like who is an actual starter or who started as who were supposed to be a starter? I don't think so.
I don't think so.
And even if you just compare him to
Russell Wilson.
No, okay.
Russell Wilson's more disappointing, but he technically is not worse than. Yeah.
And it honestly is pretty close.
I also really, so far, he might become a better quarterback. I also made a mistake on Wilson. Apparently, one of the players that I misjudged. I'm really big proponent of judging quarterbacks based on completion percentage rather than any total metric. That's a total number. And in that year, his last year, number 1 and number 2 in NCAA were Mac Jones and Zach Wilson. Mac Jones thus far has more or less proven to me that I was right about him.
He's okay.
But not Zach Wilson.
Yeah, Zach Wilson. I feel like Zach Wilson tries to play like Patrick Mahomes without having the ability of Patrick Mahomes. Like if you see him play, he tries to go for a lot of hero plays, like constantly rolling out of the pocket, just running to his side and trying to make throws on the run, and it just doesn't work. I mean, you can see his numbers. Like I don't know what his seasonal numbers are, but it's really bad. And obviously they kept winning games in spite of him, and now they're losing games with Mike White. So you could kind of have the argument that Wilson, at least when he was starting, they won games, but the locker room seems to also like be behind Mike White.
Yeah, and Mike White has not played worse than Zach.
And yeah, Mike White. We know what he is. He's a backup quarterback, but he really hasn't looked worse than the number 2 overall from last year, and that's a concern for the Jets.
Mike White was 27 of 44, which is not a good completion. Another good completion percentage, really. 78.6% rating, and this is a very very steep drop from his first game against the Bears, where he played really well. Despite that, in that game, if you watched it, Tony Romo had a lot of praise for Mike White, especially because of how quick he's throwing the ball.
Oh yeah, he's a very quick release. Like Mike White is a pretty smart quarterback. That's why he works really well in system. I mean, his first start, he looked better than Zach Wilson in any of his games this year, and that's simply because he's a very solid and capable backup. He could probably play in most systems. Like he's not gonna win you games. Unless I think last year against the Bengals he was really good when he had like 4 touchdowns. That was the one game where he was like actually like balling out, but he's more of a game manager type. I don't think like for the coaches and a lot of Jets fans, they don't really look at Mike White's stats, because if they look at the game you can see that he is playing better than Zach Wilson. So most fans would prefer to keep him as the starter. But also like if you compare the Bills and the Bears defense, it's like light years. Like the Bills have I don't know if top 5 defense, but they have really good defense, and then on the other hand the Bears defense this year has been abysmal. So
yeah, that's true. Yeah. Lastly, for the Jets, Garrett Wilson has 6 receptions for 78 yards. Is he making a bid for Offensive Rookie of the Year?
For fantasy or Rookie of the Year?
For Rookie of the Year.
Rookie of the Year. Yeah, I think he has like 800 yards in the season, something like that, close to that. This year, it's a pretty close race because you don't really have anyone that stands out. I think Brees Hall would have won it, the Jets running back.
Maybe if he had continued playing.
Yeah, but he got injured, so that's unfortunate. Right now, you have a couple contenders. I think Garrett Wilson is definitely up there. But to me, Chris Olave is the other one that you could argue, because his situation on the Saints is also kind of difficult.
They were teammates at Ohio State.
Yeah, Ohio State's receiver talent is insane. Yeah. You're gonna have another one
and
in this year's draft.
And they're still in the playoffs.
And so Olave, I think Kenneth Walker could have a case, but I don't think he's gonna win it. Like
he kind of came in mid-season.
Quite late. Yeah, so for him it's unfortunate.
Yeah.
The other one, what I'm really exciting for, obviously, for the last 4 weeks is Christian Watson, because he already has 7 touchdowns in the season. So if he racks up a couple more touchdowns, he could probably win Rookie of the Year, because no one really stands out that much. Like, yeah, Garrett Wilson has about 800 yards, but I'm pretty sure he only has like 4 touchdowns in the season. So if Watson finishes with, let's say, he has like 400 yards now, let's say finishes with 600-700 yards, 10 touchdowns, I think that could maybe win it. Be enough to win. So I think those 3 receivers are currently up there. If I had to give it to someone right now, I would probably give it to Olave, in my opinion, because I know like Wilson is playing in a bad quarterback situation as well, but the Saints, man, I mean, you thought you're gonna have Michael Thomas this year, and then you lost him once again, and other than that, you don't have anyone. I mean, you have Jarvis Landry, but he's pretty old and he's mainly just a slot option. So Olave really is the only like true like receiving threat on the Saints. So yeah, I would probably give it to him now. But Wilson would also deserve it. Like, I would have no problem if Wilson won Offensive Rookie of the Year. Which is crazy because the Jets might have the Offensive Rookie and the Defensive Rookie of the Year on their team. With Sauce Gardner.
Matt Gardner, yeah. And these two might not make the playoffs.
Oh yeah.
Because the Patriots now winning against the Cardinals last night, as of the time of a recording, not of course not when we upload it. They beat the Cardinals. Both teams are 7-6.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the AFC East, all the teams are above.
They're now above. They're now above the Jets. The Jets are last place with 7-6 record.
And if you look through the other, like every AFC South is bad, but like, I think the Chargers have started to win a bit more games, so they are on the up and coming. Yeah, the Jets. I don't think the Jets are gonna make the playoffs. I don't know what the rest of their schedule looks like, but yeah, the AFC is tough this year, and with their quarterback play, it just doesn't really matter. To be honest, if it would be great for them to make the playoffs, they probably don't win a playoff game with either Mike White or Zach Wilson starting.
Yeah.
Maybe they put in Joe Flacco, the playoff specialist, and they can win some games. But
I mean, at the moment, it seems very unlikely for them to win any game by virtue of anything other than the defense.
Yeah.
But it's very difficult to win games with the defense alone.
I think you could. I mean, it's tough now because they played Bills, who are still one of the best teams in the league, in horrible conditions. So it's tough to judge them based on this game. I think they, as I said, I don't know their schedule, but they are definitely capable of beating at least probably 20 teams in the league. Out of the 32, probably more, just based on their defense. Like, their defense not only stops the offenses, they also get turnovers. They force them. They put the offense in good position. Quinnen Williams has 11 sacks on the season as a defensive tackle. He has been all pro this season, like probably better than Aaron Donald this year.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's kind of similar to the Broncos. Just two great defenses being let down by mediocre offenses. I don't think either teams should be worried about the playoffs that much right now, because it's not their year just yet.
You have to take a game by game approach. It seems like,
especially like for some team like the Jets, you can't look ahead.
Yeah.
I mean, same with the Giants. I mean, they were 7-1, now they're 7-5-1, something like that, with the tie as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
things like that currently,
that's why
with all the injuries, with all the drama, they're living on the edge. They cannot.
That's why I don't like making power rankings based on records.